Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Overture Project. I'm here today with Alvaro Rojas, co-owner of Elda. Thanks for being here, Alvaro.
Thank you, Brandon.
Awesome. So we are here in Elda. How about you tell myself and the audience what Elda is?
Well, Elda is a bar restaurant in the Mission District in San Francisco. We're located on the corner of 16th and Guerrero. We kind of have a Latin heart. We feature flavors and food and drink from all over Latin America. Primarily Mexico, and it's just a fun place to hang out and have a drink. We kind of have open our doors for anybody and everybody, and we're really proud of what we do, and we invite everyone to come in.
Amazing. And this is a new bar. You guys opened last year, right?
We've been open for about 7.5 months. We opened on June 14th of 2019. For being a first-time owner, we've exceeded our expectations, and things are going quite well and better than we even expected.
So being a co-owner, what does your day-to-day look like here at Elda?
Well, that really depends on the day. You know, there's three of us. Elda is 3 owners, and so we all have to split our duties and responsibilities. There might be some overlap on some days, and on some days it might be very specific. So, for example, today I am almost a one-man band. Sundays are one of our quiet days, so I do prep, I cut fruit, I juice, I prepare some of the syrups and batches that we use for our cocktails. I roll into a opening shift, so I'm the first person to open up the doors and let people in. And then when the other staff starts coming up, then I'll kind of go upstairs and do some admin things. I do scheduling, I do ordering. We're always kind of working on cocktail and food development, so it can be a lot of different things, you know. Yeah.
And some of the cocktails that I've had, my favorite one I think is Vampiros, and just your use of mezcals and tequila is absolutely inspiring. How do you come up with all these drinks and cocktails?
That can happen in a lot of different ways. It could happen kind of in a eureka, I have found it kind of moment where a light bulb goes on over your head. It might happen that through a conversation or something that you've tasted or eaten someplace else, and it kind of clicks inside your brain and you start thinking about how you can kind of use that same idea in a different way. And sometimes it happens collaboratively. Sometimes, you know, Eric and I will have just conversations about stuff, or we'll go out and drink someplace else and eat someplace else and talk about different things and what we like and what we don't like. And so, and then a lot of it is also just, you know, just kind of old school R&D. I love reading cookbooks. I love reading books about bars and alcohol and liquor, so inspiration can really come from any number of places.
So before Elda, what were you doing?
Well, up until right before we opened Elda, I was working at True Laurel, very close by here in the Mission District. It's a pretty well-known bar restaurant, also relatively new, which was a spin-off of a Michelin star restaurant, Lazy Bear. And before that, I was a bar manager at another restaurant here in the Mission District called Lolinda, which is a Argentine-style steakhouse. And I ran the bar program there for a while. And going even farther back, I've been in San Francisco or the Bay Area for about 20 years, almost 20 years. I moved here when I was 18 to go to college. And I haven't been here the entire time, but I've spent most of those years here in the Bay Area, Oakland and San Francisco. I grew up in Los Angeles and moved up here to go to college. I already said that.
Man, talking about all this food and restaurants making me hungry. Yeah. So tell me, what inspires you to do what you do?
Well, ultimately, you know, it might be a little ego-driven. Like I'm motivated by a quest to be happy. I want satisfaction and fulfillment and happiness in my life, and I've chosen this path and this career in this industry because I found it to be the best way for me to get there. And so I continually try to challenge myself to make sure that I'm engaged and that in an extension that our customers engage with what we're doing, and that we're constantly putting out a good product and offering a good experience for people to come and enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So I'd love to hear more about some of the challenges that you and the team faced just opening up Elda. I think it's amazing, and I feel like often people look at the final product, but there's just so much more behind the scenes and the process leading up to that point. I'd love to hear more about some of the challenges that you and the team had to overcome.
Well, I'd say initially, since we're all first-time owners, I guess the first challenge was the learning curve. Moving into a set of a decision-making role that a lot of us had never experienced before. And kind of like there's always some fear about making a mistake, and kind of learning to trust our instincts and to go with what we know best and with what got us here in order to make the right decision. I also think that there's a little bit of, and also not proving to ourselves, but also proving to the public and our industry colleagues, and so that we can do this. So the main challenge was was the fact that we were all doing something for the first time together, and although we were all confident that we had what it takes to do it and to be successful, there is always, I think, going to be a little bit of doubt, which I think is important. I think it's healthy to doubt yourself and to challenge yourself in that way, to whether or not we could be successful, and then also not only in convincing ourselves but convincing others. Compiling a team, getting the team together, other bartenders, back of the house, and showing them that we had it together so that we could convince them to come join us and be a part of this. And then also to the general public, just showing people as first-time owners that we're capable and ready to take on this challenge and to be successful doing so.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Well, I mean, you yourself, Jay, Eric, and the entire team have been huge inspiration for me in what I do as well. So I'd love to hear advice you have for the audience or anyone thinking about trying to start their own restaurant or bar or pursue this route.
I think the best advice I could give to anybody that's thinking about doing the same thing would be, first of all, to believe in yourself. I mean, confidence is of utmost importance, and also to know yourself, to understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and where you will need to look with beyond yourself in order to ask for assistance for someone who can help in and kind of help you fill in the blanks. Not everybody can do everything well. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and it's important to build a team that fits well together, that can complement the individual strengths and weaknesses so that the team can be as solid and strong. And also is just be ready to work hard, be ready for long days, long nights. It's not, nothing comes easy that's worth it. And so it's important to just keep that in mind and know that if you're confident in what you're doing, you believe in what you're doing, and you put the work out there, I think that you should eventually be successful. So just to keep in mind that it's a lot of work, but ultimately you'll get to where you need to go.
Right, love it. So Alvaro, tell us what's next in your journey.
I've really enjoyed this entire process, and I've kind of, I'm addicted a little bit to what this all is, to the day in, day out, to the energy, to a lot of the challenges and energy that it takes to kind of operate a bar restaurant. And I can't wait to do another one. So our hope is to be able to do so.
Are you saying there's going to be an Elda number 2?
Perhaps not an Elda number 2, but perhaps a different project with a different name and a different concept.
Teasing the audience.
Yeah, and we're still, in a very, we're just don't even have a concept at this point, but we're definitely talking about it. And I look forward to trying to do this again, here in San Francisco. It could be outside of San Francisco, but just being involved and being able to take the experience that we've learned from Elda, from our first business, to be able to apply that new experience to a second location and hopefully doing even a better job with that one.
Incredible. So given all of your success with Elda and learning thus far, what would you tell your 25-year-old self?
What would I tell my 25-year-old self? I think that I would tell my 25-year-old self just to continue being who that person is, to not worry so much about your direction or your career path, to basically to listen to your heart, follow your instincts, and choose the path that feels like the right one. I think that I wasted a few years in my 20s. Wasted is a strong word, but I may have been delayed somewhat in my 20s, kind of feeling certain pressures from family, what people expected of me in terms of what my career, what my life should be like, when I kind of had an inkling already that this is what I wanted to do, but I wasn't fully ready to embrace it. And so I think it delayed my start in some ways into this industry and getting to this point. But it was necessary. I needed to go through that, and so yeah, I guess the main thing would be just to believe in yourself.
So growing up, did you always want to be in the hospitality industry? Is that what you wanted to do?
No, not at all. I kind of came into it in a very winding and long path. I kind of worked in different industries. I worked in nonprofits. I worked in journalism. Studied journalism in college. I worked in production, in film and television production in Los Angeles for a while. And I even considered a career in law. And I was actually supposed to go to law school, got into school in Los Angeles, and had a change of heart about a month before I was supposed to begin, and realized that I was probably making a big mistake, and that I kind of, through a lot of soul searching, realized that I didn't want to make that mistake, and decided to make kind of turn a different direction, and kind of embrace this life and industry wholeheartedly. Whereas before I'd kind of flitted in and out of it, working in bars and restaurants to make a little extra money, I realized that it was truly a big part of who I was and what I wanted out of my life, and that the industry and this lifestyle offered to me what I think I need and what I do need in order to be to achieve success and happiness. It's kind of the big what ifs in my life, but I'm glad that I didn't go to A, that I didn't go to law school, and B, that I'm totally sure that I made the right decision. Yeah.
So Alvaro, what does creativity mean to you?
Creativity for me is expression. It's an opportunity to express something, an idea or a concept that you have in your head in a different way, in a way that's unique to yourself, that no one else can.
And so to add on to that, what's your advice for individuals and people who want to get started who may not have the resources and financial capital to get started?
My advice to those individuals would be to be persistent, be disciplined, and do your homework. Something like this, or opening a place, doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of attention to detail, and it's something that you really have to sacrifice in order to achieve. It means that sacrifice may mean that to not go out on a certain evening, or to give up a certain social function so that you can read a lot of boring things about financials or insurance or business codes or planning department zoning laws. But they're all important, and they're all equally important to anything that happens in the kitchen or behind the bar, in order to make a business successful. And ultimately, you're responsible for all of that as well.
That's great advice. Amazing.
Good.
That's what I was going to. I hope that didn't.
Yeah.
Is that good? All right.
Done.
Okay.
All right.